Hi, it's Stephen Orr, and one of my favorite things about gardening is bringing wildlife to my garden. And I don't mean deer and rabbits. What I really mean are pollinators. Pollinators help plants make fruit. They help plants get pollinated so they can make seed. And when you're planting these plants, you're actually participating in that. You'll notice that there's a lot of common colors here. A lot of pollinators seem to prefer the warm colors of oranges and reds and yellows. You'll see lots of bees and other kinds of native bees, which are very important as well. They're going to go for things like the black-eyed Susans. Yarrow is a great option. Another great plant would be coneflowers, like these in this pot. Coneflowers are also called echinacea, and these plants draw a lot of pollinators. If you're looking to bring plants to your garden, one of the best things you can do is just make sure that you keep them deadheaded. That means you want to pull off any spent flowers. The nectar is in the fresh flowers, and so all the pollinators are coming for the nectar in the fresh flowers, and the more you pinch back your blooming plants, the more you're going to have visits from the pollinators because they're coming for the fresh flowers. Some of my favorites are butterfly bush, which is not a native, and it can be weedy in parts of the country, so be careful where you plant it. But it's a favorite. As it said, butterfly bush, it's visited a lot by butterflies and all kinds of little moths. When you're out in your garden, look for things that are not obvious. Don't always look for just bumblebees and honeybees. There's a bunch of native bees that help with pollination, and we're trying to support them in our gardens. Mason bees, bees that live in the ground. Also various things that look like little bitty flies or even small banded wasps. Not all these things will sting you, and so if you are allergic to bees or wasps, you do need to be careful in the garden. But for most people, the biggest percentage of people and gardeners, they are not bothered by stings. So having these insects around really does make a great way to bring in nature into your garden. One of the easiest ways to do that is to make a pollinator garden in a pot. Here we have black-eyed Susan, and then we have coneflowers. That could be any color. There's lots of beautiful orange coneflowers coming out in these kind of nice sunset colors. When you're shopping for pollinator plants, you do want to pick plants that have this nice open flower form. That gives the bees or the insects or the little flies or whatever's going to come easy access to the nectar. So that's a great thing to look for when you're shopping. And also go online and look for native pollinators in your area. Another thing to keep in mind is make sure that you're not using pesticides. If you are using them, be very judicious, but I recommend not using them if you're trying to attract pollinators, because what kills one insect often will just kill another, and we don't want to be killing our bee population. We have the European bees, and we also have native bees. Also, one thing that makes pollinators really happy in your garden is a water source. So we all know that bird baths work for birds, but if you put a small pebble or a stone in your bird bath, it gives a nice spot for insects to kind of come and take a little sip before they fly off, and that'll help the birds and the bees at the same time. Try to plant them in light groups. So buy 3 to 5 echinaceas and put them together, or 3 to 5 rudbeckias, and layer those plants throughout the garden. You'll get these beautiful drifts of color, and also it seems like the pollinators love it because they can just hit a lot of activity as they go around the garden. By filling your garden with plants that feed pollinators, you're going to have a happier garden and a happier environment in general.